you might get frustrated right now because you haven't eaten and your blood sugar's low. Yeah. But I'm going to use the Echo Charles approach of, hey, that's weakness, right? Yeah. It's weakness. For me to be getting angry, it's weak. For me to be complaining because I'm on a tail end of a 72-hour fast, that's just weakness. I'm not going to complain. What are you talking about? You don't need to eat for 30 days. People can go 30 days without eating. My daughter, when she was cutting weight for wrestling this past season, she would say that. She'd say, she'd say, Dad, I would get really hungry. And then I just think people can live for 30 days without eating. I think I can make it through the next 8 hours. Come on. Yeah. It's not that big of a deal. There's no reason to get hangry. That's just an excuse. Don't do it. Carry on with your airborne self.
Also, you know how I've said this before. There's a difference between how you feel and then how you behave.
True.
So you can get hangry on the inside, but once you start behaving like
Jiu-Jitsu man get angry on the inside.
Yeah, exactly. Trading places. That was pretty good.
I like that.
Very good.
Actually, now that I think about it, when I was doing deployments back in the day, in the 90s, there was nothing to do on a ship. We didn't have internet. No one wrote us letters. No one cared about us. There was so all we did was play spades and watch movies. And with movies, we watched on videotape. Because this is back in the day, before CDs, before Netflix. You had videotape, and we had a crate full of videos. And so we were watching the same, cheesy movies over and over and over again. Probably Trading Places was one of them. Yeah. So if you go back, if you were to go back further in the movies, you're not, because what am I, 5 years older than you?
Yeah, 5, 6.
5 or 6 years? Yeah, so I'm just 5 or 6 years ahead of you on movies. So there's a whole bunch of cheesy movies that I actually know about that you might not know about. Yeah, and maybe. Occasionally we're getting an overlap. Trading Places.
Trading Places. Iconic movie. Murphy the Man. Oh, yeah, but hangry, right?
Karate Man bleed on the inside.
I like that word, hangry, by the way. That's funny. But that implies that you're kind of like, oh, I'm hangry, like you're expressing yourself.
Yeah. Don't express yourself. Yeah. Keep your emotions in.
Keep it on the in and act like a winner. You can feel like a loser on the inside. Yeah. You can feel hangry, but don't act like that. Don't let it make
other people see you be all pathetic like that. Yeah. Just be like, oh yeah, I haven't eaten in 4 days. Whatever. You know what? No, did you hear this joke? You know what I mean? Just, hey, I haven't eaten in 6 days. Yeah. No big deal. Yeah. I'm gonna go train jiu-jitsu. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yep. So yeah.
Oh, what are you doing? Sitting around being weak? Don't do that.
I'll be over here doing something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, so separate your feeling and your behavior. And typically when it's and you even have a word for it. It's not like it crept up on you and I had no control over it. No, you identified it, gave it a name, everything. And if my experience serves me, a lot of times when people say like, oh, I get hangry or I'm PMSing or I'm whatever, it's to explain their common behavior, meaning they just let it go. They embrace that's how that's how it is for them, kind of thing.
Please forgive me, I'm hangry.
Yeah, I get like that sometimes. What are you talking about? And you just let it go, Be like that on the inside, be good on the outside. Separate the feelings versus behavior. Next question.
Stifle your emotions inside.
They say like if you get like emotions, you gotta like let it out, punch a pillow or whatever. Yeah. I guess as it turns out, that's not true.
No.
Because if you internally, how you say stifle them.
Well, the reason I kind of say that with sarcasm is because I think for instance, like you're saying, people these days, they say, oh, you gotta let your emotions out. You gotta let your emotions out. If you gotta cry. I understand where that's coming from, and you can get to a point as a person if there's something that's really traumatic that's happening and all you do is hold it in, and I've seen guys get destroyed over that because they're not expressing the emotions that they have. But that's at a big level, right? At a daily level, no. You don't express those things. You keep them inside. That's why I say it like that. Like I'm being kind of sarcastic, but at the same time I'm being serious.
Yeah.
It's just don't let your emotions out and into the world, keep them for yourself. Own them.
Yeah.
Keep them for yourself. Don't share them with other people if you don't have to.
Yeah.
Now, again, people are going to freak out that I'm saying this because bury your emotions. Because that what happens when you when you've got something really traumatic that you bury, then it eats you apart. And I've talked about that. I mean, talking about things that you go through in life and expressing those feelings that you have about them, that's good. But what we're talking about is not that. What we're talking about is daily emotions, little ups and downs, little tick marks on your Richter scale. We're not talking about an 8.8 on the Richter scale, right? We're talking about just like little twos.
Yeah.
And when you express those 2s and 3s on the Richter scale out to people, you just look unstable.
Hangry, that's a 2.
Yeah, that's a 2.
Yeah, overall, and this, I'm not to split hairs or nothing, but overall, it's more about dealing with your emotions, quote unquote. So yeah, if a good conducive way to deal with your emotions is to let them out, and there's all different kinds of emotions. Like if you're sad, if something's eating you up on the inside because of sadness or whatever, and it's conducive to your recovery, development, whatever, to express those emotions, then yes. But if you're hangry and you lose your temper on your kid, that's not you're not dealing with your emotions correctly. So
stifle your emotions.
But it's not really, it is stifling them. But before you stifle them, you're identifying them. You're like, oh, hey, I'm hangry. Okay, I identified that. I'm going to separate feelings from behavior. That's dealing with your emotions right there. Yeah. That's dealing with them.
It's a great point that oftentimes expressing your emotions to the world doesn't improve your situation or your position at all.
Correct.
In fact, I would say that most of the time, expressing your emotions to the world sets you back. And that is why I vote in many cases to stifle your emotions. Keep them in.
Yeah.
Don't let other people see. You put your cards on the table, right? You put your emotional cards on the table. Now you can't gamble anymore. You're not in the game anymore. The person knows what's going on. That you're giving it to them. You're not going to know what I'm thinking. You're going to think everything's cool with me.
Yeah.
We're training jiu-jitsu, right? If I'm getting frustrated and I show that to you, what does that do? You're getting, all of a sudden, you just go level up. You're thinking, oh, I got him. He's frustrated right now. He can't. Oh, I'm working. This is working against him. If I'm just saying the same face all the time, which is what I do primarily, hey, same face all the time. Just, moving the same way. When you do get me, I forget what you say. When you get me to react to something good.
Recognize the urgency.
Yeah, you say, oh, I recognize a little urgency there. And I always go, damn. I don't want him to recognize. I'd rather just have you just pass my guard and you're just there and me just sit there like it's no big deal because it's not. Then me get all panicky. Yeah. Where then you level up a little bit. Mm-hmm. And that's the same thing with life, right? Yep. Every time you express these big emotions to your boss or to your team, you express these big emotions to your team, they see all your cards. Don't let them see all your cards. Is this manipulating? Kind of. Right? This is one of those things where people think, oh, transparency. We hear that all the time these days. Transparency. You got to be transparent. No, actually you don't.
Yeah, not with that.
You don't have to be transparent all the time. Yeah. You have to win the game. You know what? Does the football coach go out and hand his playbook to the other football team? No. He's got to win the game.
Yeah, typically no.
And that's not how you win the game. So are we, what we're doing? We're playing chess. It's emotional chess. You're playing with other human beings. You want to win. Now, if you're winning so that I can take advantage of you, so I can manipulate you and get something from you that you don't want to give me, that's bad. And I'm not talking about doing that. But if what I'm doing is keeping my calm so that instead of escalating an argument with you, I'm getting you to see it from my perspective just by remaining calm, that's what we're talking about here. Leif told that story the other day where he tells the story a lot because it was a hilarious story where I came in, we didn't have a chance to talk to each other as he was planning this big operation, and I come in 10 minutes before the operation. I said, hey, let me see what you're doing, and he kind of shows me on a map, hey, we're gonna go here, here, and there, and it's like, hey, you should do this instead. And he was like, dude, we're leaving in 10 minutes. And I said, man, but just think about it. And he goes, you know what? Just cancel the op. And he was all mad, right? And he's like, and Jocko kind of like laughed at me. I didn't laugh at him like a jerk, I was like, no, but I was like, hey man, listen, just think about what I'm saying right now. But that's an example.
Right.
I didn't show my emotions which would be more like, dude, are you serious right now? You're going to cancel an op because we have a difference of opinion? Think about what I didn't do that. I was like, hey, man, I get it. Everyone's stressed out right now. We got to leave on this thing quickly. Think about what I'm saying, though. Look, this is all I'm saying. We could execute this in a better way. So that's what I'm talking about. Does that make me manipulative? No, it doesn't make me manipulative. It makes us as a team do a better job. And as soon as Leif saw that, he was like de-escalated himself. He was good to go. We move on.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm talking about. Stifle your emotions at all times. But, you know, and just to address that, though, for real, when you do see the big emotional impactful things in someone's life and they don't express them, that absolutely is bad. And I'll tell you where you see this a lot is with kids. You know, kids, teens, where there's something bothering them and they hold it in because they don't have anybody to talk to. They can't talk to mom and dad because mom and dad don't get it. Their friends are the people that they're pissed off at anyway, so they can't tell them what's going on. So they sit there and they harbor a lot of that anger, and that can be very problematic. And it goes all through you know, adults as well, and you know, at work, sometimes people, they got problems at home, so they can't talk to their wife because that's what the problem was. They can't talk to their husband because that's the source of the problem. But then they get to work and they don't want to look like the person that's got problems at home, so they're not going to say anything there either. And the next thing you do, what are they doing? They're trying to escape those problems. How are they doing it? Instead of letting those problems out and talking to somebody about them, they're having a drink in the afternoon, getting on the alcohol, whatever. They're doing something that's negative and they're not moving forward at all. So those are not the kind of feelings and emotions that you want to subdue or stifle. But these little 1s and 2s and 3s on the Richter scale,
being hangry,
get control of those things and
stifling certain emotions, 1s and 2s, is a good way to deal with them because because they're usually real spontaneous emotions anyway. I got hangry,
they don't have the power to sustain.
Yes,
they're there and then they just fade away, and that's cool. That's why. Yes, correct.
And then over time, now you're good at dealing with them in that way.
Right.
When you get hangry and you've been for 1 year, you've been dealing with it by just ignoring it, you know, in regards to behavior, just not acting on it. Now you're good at doing that. Now it's automatic. Now you don't act hangry